Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
So leaning into lesson 3, which is really work your own stone, I want to work today using the ARAA sequence, awareness, reflection, analysis, action sequence, to help work through the impulse to help others, which it starts to get recursive pretty quick. But the idea here is the impulse to help others is itself something you can work with to become a better person without actually any of the behavior execution that comes after. Okay. So what do we mean by this? You're going to find in your day-to-day life, you have this urge or this desire to help others. When you become aware of it, in the moment, in the situation, you want to, fly in and fix or repair or mend or prevent any of those kind of behaviors. Step one, become aware of it. Like, hey, I have a desire to help. And even if you just do nothing more and start to count these when they come up, you're beginning the process of becoming aware of your own behavior. And that awareness is working your own stone. Okay. You are doing the work. As you build awareness that you're actively trying to interfere or help, whatever words we want to use, right? They're all emotionally charged. So the difference between interfere and help is really not even determined by you. It's determined by the person that you're interfering with or helping, right? So as you start this process and become aware that you're trying to help, then you can begin a reflective process. Hey, what am I trying to do here? In this situation, what am I trying to bring forward? Am I doing this to prevent harm? Am I doing this to grow my own capacities? Am I doing this to look or appear right or correct? Any of the kinds of things that come up when you are trying to help are essentially that reflection. You're going to discover some of those causes in reflection, the whys, the wherefores. What are we actually working with? And in those sort of causations, then you begin your analysis process. Like, hey, what if the reason I'm trying to help is this? Is there another way to do so that makes more sense, or that honors the intention, or that doesn't deny the learning, or doesn't deny access or insight or anything else? As we go through this process, this awareness, reflection, analysis, we then begin to create better action-based responses in the moment. Now, the important thing about this, and I've talked about this in recent podcast appearances, like with Mark Wiley, you're trying to essentially, first things first, lengthen the time between impulse and action. When you lengthen that timeline, you actually gain agency. You gain the capacity to act. If your response times between those impulses and those actions is measured in fractions of a second, there's a good chance that you're not actually in control of them at all, and they are happening without your even awareness or consent. By extending that timeline, you get more ability to discern. You get more ability to decide and become the agentic person you're essentially capable of being. And when you extend that timeline, you begin to make better decisions. Now, here's the other thing that happens. As you get more skilled at making these decisions, that timeline actually will shrink back down, right? You essentially go from, there's phases of understanding here. There's unconscious incompetence. This is, I didn't know what I was doing. and I didn't know that I was doing it wrong. Then there's conscious incompetence, which is, hey, I kind of realize that I'm no good at this and I need to spend more time and learn and develop. Then there's conscious competence, which is like, hey, I figured this out, but I really have to think about it a lot. And then there's unconscious competence, which is essentially what most people would experience when they're driving for the most part. They just are good enough at driving that they don't even really have to pay attention to it, and they can listen to music and do the other stuff. The same thing's true when we talk about learning and growing through things like these impulses to help others, the various other impulses, and we'll talk about some of those in other weeks as we go over some of these other rules. But this one to help others, this one to meddle in other people's affairs is so pervasive that it gets a rule all of its own. This idea that you're going to either control the situation or fix other people is one of the most sort of commonly recurring impulses that we have because human beings are social creatures. So as you go through your process and begin to understand how this awareness and desire to help other folks really can play out and how you can best be agentic about that moving forward to create better outcomes for everybody, you're really going to begin to essentially cultivate your own stone, work your own stone. And this impulse is one of those sort of more frequent reminders to do so.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.